All right, let's see you. Let's see you. Does anyone get notifications for my YouTube channel?
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, let's do this thing. Can you guys message or tag? Can you tag on GroupMe those who aren't here on our group? Because I just put up that we are streaming so they can watch the stream. All right. All right, Noah, open this up.
Okay. So this is called Learning to Get Back Up.
Raj, 710.
So bringing a giraffe into the world is a tall order. A baby giraffe falls 10 feet from its mother's womb and usually lands on its back. Within seconds, it rolls over and tucks its legs under its body. From this position, it considers the world for the first time and shakes off the last vestiges of bringing fluid from its eyes and ears. Then the mother giraffe rudely introduces its offspring to the reality of life. In his book, A View from the Zoo, Gary Richmond describes how a newborn giraffe learns its first lesson. The mother giraffe lowers her head long enough to take a quick look, and then she positions herself directly over her calf. She waits for about a minute, and then she does the most unreasonable thing. She swings her long, pendulous leg outward and kicks her baby so that it is sent sprawling head over heels. When it doesn't get up, the violent process is repeated over and over again. The struggle to rise is momentous.
So I just want you to pause for a second.
Yeah.
So, give you a visual. Baby is born. Giraffe baby is born. Mom goes, and if it doesn't get up, it goes, it doesn't get up. All right, go on.
Yeah, so as the baby calf grows tired, the mother kicks it again to stimulate its efforts. Finally, the calf stands up for the first time on its wobbly legs. Then the mother giraffe does the most remarkable thing. She kicks it off its feet again. Why? Because she wants it to remember how to get up. In the wild, baby giraffes must be able to get up as quickly as possible to stay with the herd, where there is safety. Lions, hyenas, leopards, and wild hunting dogs all enjoy young giraffes, and they'd get it too. If the mother didn't teach her calf to get up quickly and get with it, the late Irving Stone understood this. He spent a lifetime studying greatness, writing novelized biographies of such men as Michelangelo, Vincent van Gogh, Sigmund Freud, and Charles Darwin. Stone was once asked if he had found a thread that ran through the lives of all these exceptional people. He said, "I write about people who sometime in their life have a vision or dream or something that should be accomplished, and they go to work. They are beaten over the head, knocked down, vilified, and for years they get nowhere. But every time they're knocked down, they stand up. You cannot destroy these people. And at the end of their lives, they've accomplished some modest part of what they set out to do."
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. My voice is a little. So I remember hearing this for the first time, this story for the first time, and I was just like, what the heck? But I think it's cool, you know, to look at different things, and I love the perspective of it. And there's so many different stories, so many different, you know, facts, so many things, you know, ways of life. And I feel like through nature, you know, through the universe, that really life is, you know, it's all about perspective. You know, people can go through the same thing and have a completely different perspective, right? I know Mike Lanzetta, I think, shared the story of the two brothers, right, during SC2 kickoff. If anyone hasn't heard it, basically, dad is like drug addict, whatever, in jail, you know, and just not the best role model. And at the end, you know, when both men are interviewed to see their brothers, what happened to them from this like huge convict in jail. One was in jail, and one was like uber successful. And when asked, hey, why do you think this happened? Both had the exact same answer. With a father like mine, how else would I turn out? You know, one, it was like, I'm going to be just like him. The other was like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to be like that, you know, and use it as a motivator. And so same circumstance, you know, used different. I can relate to that in my household. You know, like my family went through a lot of bullshit, unfortunately, back in 2005. There was a lot going down. You know, we found stuff out, broke my family apart. My parents, who had been married for over 20 years, split up. And it was a really tough time for all of us. Now, I was at this time, I was 23, and I was a district manager living on the other coast of Florida. And I remember, for me, you know, how I dealt with the situation, how my sister dealt with the situation, how my brother, and for me, I just like kind of ran away from home and just didn't talk to them. My brother's perspective was that I left them and I didn't care about them anymore. My brother, you know, became suicidal through the process of being left, my parents leaving. My mom was in a nursing home for a while and then moved to Puerto Rico. My father had moved across the state. My brother was 14, and he was sleeping on friends' floors for about a year, and felt completely abandoned by everybody. And then my dad was able to get some money together from working hard to help him and my sisters get an apartment where the three of them lived on their own. My sister rose to this and used this as a strong motivator, crushed it in school, did her master's program, and was working on her PhD until 2013, when she unexpectedly passed away. And my brother, you know, the instance, the same thing that, you know, my sister was like, use it as a driving force for her. My brother, it was a handicap. And my brother became suicidal. My brother was not in a good place. And I remember getting calls when I moved in 2008 and took over Miami because I wanted to be close and help with things, because he was in a really bad place by 2008. He was 17 years old, close to it. And I remember being in Olean on our Olean trip in November, and my brother called me and he's like, I just can't do this anymore. And he had moved in with me that summer of 08, and he was living in my apartment. And he's like, I just can't do this anymore. And I like freaked out. I'm like in Olean, and I was like, Josh, I'm like, you better not fucking do anything. I was like, you chill the hell out and wait. You cannot do this to me while I'm away. You know, like I'm in New York right now, and you know, feeling so like helpless. Obviously, I can't be there to like knock some sense into his ass, you know, like change his state or put him somewhere. And it was really difficult. And I had to have a long conversation to like basically, you know, settle him down. And it was, you know, same person, same circumstances, same everything, where I had to really expose him to a lot of the stuff that, by the way, this next week, when we dive in, tomorrow, kind of like I'm going to go through stuff that lays down a lot of formula for succeeding at a high level, different things like that we're going to cover stuff next week and dive in, and we're going to be sharing. Next week is a week where I'm not going to be talking a whole ton. Like we're going to be sharing, and we're going to dive in with some stuff, and it's stuff that holds you guys back. It's fears that you have. It's little voices in your effing heads. It's stuff that, and really understanding like stuff that formed and shaped and being able to share, you know, and this was a huge part of what shaped my brother. And in that time, he felt helpless. In that time, he felt like nothing was gonna, you know, come together. There was no point to living. Meet my brother now, and you'll never believe it's the same person. He's the most gung-ho about like maximize your life, let's save the world, da 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 da, you know, like, but I'll tell you, in 2008, that wasn't the case. And I remember sending him to Tony Robbins' event, which is a lot of the coaching that I do. And I sent him to an event, and I watched him make a decision that life wasn't going to be the same anymore. You know, make a decision to say, like, I just want this bullshit to stop. And I'm not just saying that, I'm just sick of this shit. And I watched him, you know, when he went to Tony Robbins, Tony talks about 3 things I mentioned yesterday to you guys. And this is a big tool. And by the way, I saw you guys implement this yesterday. And you know, you could lead us in a little bit here, you know, Raj and company, Daniel Lee. But I saw you guys implement this from what I shared yesterday in the video, even just Andrew Evans' video. That's a prime example of doing this, where it's a 3-step formula to how you change your state, right? And we're gonna do different little exercises with this, you know, next week. But in terms of changing your state, you know, people are like, well, this is just like where I'm at, what it is. And it's like, well, yeah, if you keep the same focus, you know, if you have the same language going on in your head, all right, and if you have the same physiology, all right, and this is something that, this is what it says, physiology, but this was supposed to be here, that's nice. But when you know, you go to, this is one of Tony's basic programs, but he talks about, like, you have control anytime, anywhere to change your state. You know, right now, if you had to go, like, you know, rate yourself, you know, where you're feeling, how you're feeling. And I said, okay, I need you to be 3 notches higher. Cool? 3 notches higher. What do you need to focus on that'll put you in a better state? What's the language you need to have in your head? So right now, I want you guys 3 notches higher. What do you need to do? Is it sitting up? Is it a deep breath? Do it. I want you to feel, if you have to rate yourself, 3 notches higher from wherever you're at. What does it take? You know? And for some of you guys, a lot of you guys, I saw movement. All right, and movement is definitely something. And we talk about, you know, your language, your body. You know, I had you guys go through this, but just like, where are your shoulders? Where's your what's your stance? You know, what do you look at? What are you thinking about? You know, just like, I'm so freaking tired, I'm so hungry. That's not going to put you in a good state. Okay, I'll tell you something. My husband's going through like intermittent fasting, where he's not like eating all throughout the freaking day, and he's in a 4-hour window, and that's it. You know, like last night, I'm starving, and he's like, you're fine. I'm like, no. He's like, that's all. You know, and I'm like, I was just like so hungry, and I was like, I'm having a bowl of cereal. You know, and he hadn't eaten in hours, but it's like, you know, what are you focused on? What are you thinking? Because you multiply that, you know? So this goes to, are you making a decision to focus on what is good? And so this right here, through focus, and it's like, when you put yourself, when you're not feeling good, what are you going to do to put yourself in a better state? You know, is it a song? Is it a chant? Is it, you know, going through your vision board? Is it the affirmations that you're saying to yourself that freaking pump you up, that fire you up? Remember Andy back in the day, he had a freaking whole, he wrote out this whole creed for himself that he would read every day. I wonder if I can get a hold of it. I'm going to see if I can, if he has in his computer, that he would use actually during one of his pushes. I remember one of his SC2 pushes, he made a whole creed of like, I will not let blank stop me. I will not, you know, I will do this. And he's like, he would read that every single, that was, I think, when he had his first 50K push. And every single day that he would read of like how he was going to act, how he was going to react, what he was going to do, and put himself in a great state, you know? When something didn't go well, it was like, I need to get back in my best state, you know? So chanting that out loud. So through that language, you know, putting that back in your head, through focus on what was about to happen, through changing, you know, your body language, and really creating that. And it's really crazy. It's really crazy and really powerful. And yesterday during the phone jam, some of you guys saw videos of like later aftermath. Some saw some during it. All right. But everyone's like, you know, sitting and they're just like, yeah. And then they're like, all right, we need energy, you know, and literally like the room's like falling asleep. All right. And then all of a sudden there's an explosion that happens. All right. And they start chanting and jumping up and down. All right, and what does it sound like? What does it sound like? Let's go. Raj, go, go, go. Do it. Let's go. And everybody go. Stand up. Go, go, go. And by the way, all of a sudden there was a little bit more energy, all right? And people changed the focus of what was happening of I'm so tired sitting here making phone calls. And the language changed and the physiology, body language, all of it changed. And there was energy. And then we got back at it and it was awesome. And we saw Daniel Lee, who hadn't booked shit all night, booked 3 in a row. And Raj booked demos. Huh? Everyone just boom, boom, boom. The energy was up. Everyone was going. Everyone on the phone was going. It was like boom, book, boom, boom, boom. She came in like about 20 minutes after that whole chaos, or 15 minutes. She's like, hey, I sold this ticket today. And I'm like, awesome, make 5 calls. She's like, huh? I'm like, you make 5 calls right now. And she was like, and I'm like, make 5 calls right now. You make 5 calls right now. And she's like, it's like 9:15, 9:10. I'm like, 5 calls right now. I'm like, just trust me, just do it, just right now. She's like, I'm like, Raj, go with her right now. They're like, went downstairs to the car. She called 5 people. She reached 4. She booked 2. 1 for today. Was like, oh my God, I need Cutco. And another one for next week. I was like, thank you very much. I want some of those commissions. So this is when you're in your best state, it's easy to take action. All right. The thing is, you have to put yourself in that state sometimes because we're not always like that. You know, naturally for us, as we're going through our life, it's very easy. We let whatever's happening, the circumstances, whatever's around us, control us taking action. Cool? We start focusing on random bullshit. You know, many of you guys on Wednesday were sharing, like, I'm going to hit my goal. We all have those voices in our head. We're going to talk about them next week. All right? And those of you who are more open, you're going to get more through this process of really how to push through it. All right? Because this is, everybody has that. You know, Adam was asking me, how do you get rid of certain, I'm like, everybody has it. You just make a decision to focus on something else and go, okay, no, I'm going to stop this bullshit. And you have to actually create a formula. You have to create a plan of when I hear blank voice, here's what I'm going to say to it. When this happens, I'm going to say this. I have to actually go through. That's part of reprogramming because our brain says the same shit over and over. It's going to take for a long time. Since something happened a long time ago, your head is saying something over and over and over again. All right? And this is really important. You ruined my live stream. Zoom yourself out. I put in the group that I was streaming so you can just watch the stream. Hopefully this is working. Whatever. We're good. So anyway, as you guys are going through, it's so important that you understand the power that you have, the power of your brain, how much your brain, by the way, yeah, you guys are like, yeah, we love Spencer. The power of your brain and just what it does to hold you back or serve you and push you forward, okay? And it's crazy. We talk, and we're going to talk a lot, but like the most successful people, I'm going to share a lot tomorrow on that. Like they just, it's all here. You look at them, you talk to them, and it's like what they focus on, what their brain is like. That's the difference between above average people and below average people. Some of them have the same circumstances, have the same shit. You're like, well, I grew up here. Well, I have this. Well, I don't have a chance for this. Well, I didn't have an education. Guess what? There's a lot of really successful people with the same damn story. Cool? Same story. That don't let that be why they don't do stuff, okay? I hear people all the time in Cutco, by the way. It's not just one person this push that's saying this. Been here for 15 years. It's like, oh, well, I don't have good people. My people don't have money. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people in it. Like, all my family was on Social Security and, like, unemployment. All our close friends, like, didn't have any money. I was like, there's always a way. I was like, I wanted to succeed. And there were other people that had it much easier than me in my office. I'll tell you right now. I kicked all their asses. I won 3 scholarships. I ran a branch. I became a district manager. That was a choice that I made. All right. I definitely had to work harder than Ellen Thistle did. I definitely had to work harder than Ed Searing did because they were They grew up in multi-million-dollar homes with amazing connections. They had tons of money. But you know what? I kicked all their asses that summer and won a scholarship because I outworked them and I got into some of the same groups. It took me a little bit, but I was like, hey, who do you know in this area? Hey, who do you know? When I was brainstorming recommendations, like, oh my gosh, my friend, you know, I'm like, who do you know that could, you know, would redo their whole kitchen right now? You know, and they're like, oh, my sister actually is redoing your kitchen. I'm like, yes, you know, and asking for the people I wanted to meet, the types of people I wanted to meet, people who are entrepreneurs, stay-at-home moms. I'm like, I want to own my own business one day. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to homeschool. Like that's something I want to do. And so I would share that with customers. I'm like, I want to meet stay-at-home moms. I want to meet people that homeschool. I want people that have like really successful, like, you know, programs. And I can ask them questions and I can learn from, you know, and these were things that I asked for the people that I wanted to meet. And guess what? I got those people. All right. And even for my first weekend, I did less appointments with my broke family in apartments and found the people that were in houses. If they're in houses and they work full time, they can buy Cutco. Fact, period. Like if that's a you issue. They're not like, oh, I don't have money. They don't have money to waste. They just don't see value in it. You didn't build enough value. The only reason someone doesn't have money is they lost their job. A starter sits $20 a week. It's $10 each. They spend $10 at freaking Chipotle by accident, okay? It's not a can afford it. Everyone, and by the way, that's why I sold starter sets all the time when I was newer, because my brain was like, everyone can afford that. $80 for the month, $20 a week. If it's two people, which I'm seeing a husband and wife, it's $10 each. I can afford $20 a week. I'm a waitress at Chili's, you know, or whatever. Like my sister, we all waited tables. My sister, and we could afford $20 a week. We spent more than $20 a week on stupidity, you know, being waitresses through into high school and college. So I knew that if my customer worked, regardless of who they were, they could buy. I remember my mom said, "Hey, don't go see Dania. That's dumb." I went to the nursing home where my mom was working to see, you know, to go see who might do an appointment with me. The broadcast. But anyway, I remember when I went to the nursing home my mom was working at the time, I walked in and the lady who runs the front desk is Idania. And Idania is very low income, you know, and they lived in like a duplex in like the not nicest part of town at all. But I remember saying hi to her in the morning at the nursing home and she's like, "Hi, honey." And she was just like the receptionist. And she said, I said, "Hey, I'm working with a company to get experience, earn a scholarship. I get paid to show some products called Cutco. It takes like 30 minutes, but I'd come and show you and your husband. Would you be willing to help me out?" And she was like, "Sure, of course." And I was like, "All right, awesome." You know, and I like set an appointment with her. And I remember going into the office to talk to my mom. And before I got to my mom, the guy's desk, Dan, that was like next to where she worked, I said good morning to him and he's like, "Good morning." And I'd never met him before. And he was like, "How can I help you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually Mickey's oldest daughter. I live away. I'm home from college right now." And he was like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you," you know? And I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Kathy." He's like, "Oh, I'm Dan." And he's like, I said, "How long have you been working here?" And I talked to him for like a minute and I'm like, "Hey," and I saw his wedding ring. I'm like, "You're married?" And he's like, he laughed and I was like, "I get paid to show married couples some really cool kitchen stuff." I'm like, it's actually a scholarship program that's teaching me networking, time management, and interpersonal skills. And I basically would pop by with you and your wife and I can help you make lunch or dinner, but I get paid to show you some of the stuff. It takes like 30 minutes and it helps me out. I get credit just to do it, helps me out for a scholarship. I get paid, you know, at that time, $10. And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." He's like, "Here's my wife's number." I was like, "Yeah, what's her number?" So I can set something up. So he gave me her number. I called and I booked an appointment with her. Okay. And then I go and talk to my mom and I'm like, "Oh, Idania booked an appointment with me." And she's like, "Don't go see her." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Don't go see her. She's not going to buy anything." She's like, "Kathy, she's the secretary here. She makes like 20 grand a year. She doesn't really make much money." And I'm like, "Okay." But the fact is, again, people spend $10, $15, $20 a week on whatever. All right. If they work, even if they don't work, they find a way to spend $10, $15, $20 a week. I don't know where the hell they get it from, but they find a way. Especially important. Here's what I know from being low income, because I grew up low income. None of you here are low income. If you live in the 5th Ward and grew up there, then you're with me on the low income side. Cool. But nothing around here. People are like, "Oh, this is like the middle lower," and I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "This is awesome." Everywhere I've driven around here, I'm like, this is where I sold homemakers, signatures. And then I go to some of the neighborhoods and I'm like, what the heck? And where you guys are like selling a homemaker, I'm like, I was selling like 3 kitchens. But it's all perspective. But for me, people didn't have money, and you know what? They spend money on stupid shit. Poor people spend money on stupid stuff. And we, you know, I'd see people with, whether it was energy drinks, magazines, you know, eating fast food all the time, and you don't think, but they spend $7, $8, $9 on a meal sometimes because they're like, supersize this and add this and get a milkshake, and I'm like, what? And I'd see people spend some stupid money. And so I knew that everyone spent at least $50 a week on random crap, you know, who worked. Like I saw that, but I felt really confident always selling the starter sets. And once I really understood that people who were married and own a home like made more money than I did, you know, like the average college kid makes about $6,000 a year was the average back in the day. It might be like $8,000 now, but it was about $1,500 fall and spring part-time around school, and about $3,000 in the summer. Okay. So it was like 6 to 8K is what the average college kid made in a year. Well, guys, the average household that's married and they work full time, they earn 60 grand plus together. You know, like some make that by themselves, right? Some of you guys know people that make double, triple, or way more than that. Okay, but when you look at 6 grand versus 60 grand, $1,000 to you is 1/6. You know, so $1,000 to them is like $100 to you. Does everyone understand that? And so I really remember my manager showing me that on paper, and he's like, Kat, just look at percentages. Like what $100 is to you is what $1,000 is to you. Now $100 to you, that's a lot of money, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you didn't even say no. But yes, it should be, because, you know, like you don't make tons of money, but $100 is a good amount of money. He goes, but if you could split it up and pay $20 once a month, could you do that? And I'm like, of course, you know. And he is like, okay. It's like, it's the same thing when it comes to money. So they're actually used to spending $1,000 on every freaking thing for their home. And I was just like, and this is something that I didn't register early on. And when it did, that's where I was closing so much more. Because I'm like, I knew that I could afford a homemaker because I could put aside $60 a week when I'm working full time. Like I was earning $500 dollars plus a week, working my like 3 jobs, you know, but even my one waiting tables job when I was in season at the Breakers, I earned $800 to $1,000 a week waiting tables. So it was hard for me to leave that to come to Cutco. So I like waited 3 weeks until I had made with Cutco, I made $4 grand in 3 weeks. And then I was like, all right. And I just like went full-time Cutco. Because I was earning in one demo or one day what I made 1 week at the Breakers. So then I was like, all right, I'm cool. I was making 30% commissions. If I had a 3K day, I made $1,000 bucks. Or if I had a 3K week, I made $1,000 bucks. And I knew that I could create $3,000, you know, off of 10 demos or less. So I felt good with that. So for you guys, when you're going to demos, when you're doing stuff, your language. You know, some of you guys, your language, like, oh, nobody can afford anything. Some of these people can, no one gives me recommendations. They're not like, those of you saying that, you're not going to be getting recommendations. That's what you just keep saying, you know? And it really is. And I remember talking to JD from SC1. I'm like, what changed? All right. Last summer, the whole summer, he sold like 9K, just so you guys know. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's about what JD sold last summer. And he came back this year like, okay, I want to make money doing this. Like people are making money. And so obviously they're doing something I'm not. Like there's opportunity here. Like let's freaking go, you know? And it was a mentality shift. And he was like, I'm a set selling machine. Like he never sold sets for crap like before. Like he never saw, and it was just like focusing on stuff that he was like, this is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to serve my customers. You know, like I'm going to, you know, and listening, he listens to this little video, you know, every day and going through, and that's a decision that you make, but it's not just a Cutco decision. It's a decision you make in your whole freaking life. Okay. So as far as the sales stuff, and I want to go back to bring it full circle, this right here, you know, when it comes to the sales stuff, one, you need to know, most of you guys, what's stopping your sales is your brain and your belief system on what they should get or what they could get, because you could give me your leads right now and I promise you, I will sell to at least 80% of your customers, and I will sell with over a $500 average order. I don't care what side of town they're in, okay? By the way, I went to Idania's house half a house, the duplex they lived in, and her husband, all right, bought a galley +6 from me on payments. And so it's like $40 a week or something, you know, 20 bucks each. And I broke it down for them. And I was like, hey, you know, it's like, it's going to be about 160. That was what it was at the time, you know, so whatever the heck this was, 7 something. But the deposit was 160. And I remember breaking that down and saying, hey, it's $40 a week. I said, you guys would have to put 20 bucks each. If you're not doing this, every time you quote a sale, you're losing sales. Cool. You're losing money. And you're lowering your average order. It's one of the easiest ways to increase your average order is break stuff down all the way. And so I'd break it down. I'm like, it's a $160 deposit. I said, if you keep the easy pay each month, you're basically putting aside 40 bucks a week, which would be like 20 bucks each. But I remember when I put down the price and I was like 700, whatever it was. And Jose, her husband, is like smoking cigarettes like in the house. It was just like, again, not the nicest part of town, but nobody cares. And they're like, and he's like smoking cigarettes. And I put the prices and he's like, ¿Qué? He's like, no somos rico, which is like, we're not rich, you know? And I was like, no, I mean, I said, I get that. I go, I know it's not a cheap product. I go, it's an investment. It's an investment into your home, you know? And I said, I wouldn't expect you just to fork out 700 bucks. You know, I'm assuming you didn't put away, you know, just cash waiting for the knife girl. I said, but what the company does is they let you put down a deposit to just try it out and just see how you like it. And I go, and Jose, you guys can call and pay it off. I go, which most people don't do. And I said that to him because they're low income housing. And I was like, most people don't do that. I was like, unless you come across some great money. I said, they just keep it on the easy pay. It's interest free. I said, you're putting aside 40 bucks a week, which would be like 20 bucks each, you know? And he's like pacing around the table because his wife is like, we need these. We need these, you know, we need these. And she's just like sitting there, just like smiling. And he's like, you know, he's like, honey, we can't afford this. Da, da, da. And it's like, could they afford it? Of course they could afford it. He spent more than that on cigarettes each week, just so you guys know, you know? And I remember I looked over and I like knew Idania really well. So I was just like, how much does he spend on cigarettes? You know, and Jose looks at me and he's like, hey. And I was like, I was just wondering. And she goes, yeah. She goes, you're right. You know what? You quit smoking or I start smoking. We're getting the knives. And she goes, well, I'm not cooking for you, you know, because he was like a hardcore, like pack-a-day type smoker. And even if you buy cartons, he was still spending over $20 a week, probably closer to $40 a week on cigarettes. Okay. And so that right there, when she saw that, she was like, you're right. And what did it take? It was the connection of like, what do we spend that money on? Does that make sense? And that's why I like breaking it down really small, because everyone spent 20, 30 bucks a week on stuff they probably could do without, you know, if they really wanted something. So this was something that I saw and it helped me. And I was like, oh. And then when I went to go see Dan and his wife, which my mom was like, I don't like him. I wouldn't even waste your time going to see him. And I'm like, Mom, shh, I'm going to go see him. He seemed nice, and he said he would help me with my goal. And I went to go see him and his wife, and they lived in, like, they were middle income, you know, perfect. Went to their house. By the way, they bought $1,600 of stuff for me, homemaker, and added a bunch of other stuff. They gave me 30 recommendations, and I got like 3 yeses while I was there, which I you know, branched off of. But I remember getting home, and I was like, look. She's like, how did it go? How did it go with whatever? And even when I was with him, he's like, your mom's not really that social. And I started laughing, and I was like, no. I was like, she's not. She's like a hermit and like super antisocial. He's like, you're not very much like her. I was like, no, not at all. I was like, I'm like her in my drive. I go, she had an insane work ethic. I gained that from her. And I said, but no. I was like, personality-wise, definitely more people-oriented like my father. And we, you know, we had talked, but she's like, yeah, I don't like him, whatever. And I showed her the sale, and she was like, oh my, whatever. And I'm like, I like him. And even with Idania, she was so shocked that they had bought $700. But she's like, but go see Carrie. Go see Carrie, my boss. Like, Carrie will help you, and she could buy everything. Like, go see her. Go see my boss. You know how much Carrie bought? $300. And my mom thought she's won like $3,000 or more, you know? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And she like bought like, and by the way, she bought like a scissor and a fishing knife and like something else, and just some random stuff. And I'm like trying to sell her a set. And she's like, yeah, I just don't cook. You know, she just went out to eat all the time. And I was brand new, so I didn't know how to like really like sell everything else and gifts and whatever. So, you know, like she's like, I want the scissors. And I'm like, okay, you know, like whatever she picked out, I just wrote it up, and I didn't even think about it. This was something that happened to Sarah Law Felix. Sarah Law is my #1 rep. She's somewhere up there, yeah, #6 up there for the scholarship. But she was a Rookie of the Year, Silver Cup champion in 2011, and almost won another Silver Cup when she ran her branch office in 2013. But I remember her first weekend, no one's gonna buy, no one buys, all her family had said no one's gonna buy, so guess what her brain said? No one's gonna buy. She went to do her first 11 demos. You know how many sales she had? She had 3. You know how much she sold total? Less than $200. Cool. She comes back, hey, that's what I thought. No one's going to buy. Just like my family said, nobody's going to buy. Da-da-da. And I go, cool. I go, why don't you change your fucking language? Excuse me. And I was like, change your language and go into a demo. And instead of saying nobody's going to buy, say, I wonder what they're going to buy. I wonder what they're going to buy. And that's your new program. And that's what you have to say. When you're like, I wonder what they're going to buy. I wonder what they're going to buy. And go in there and be the freaking highlight of their day. And say, I'm going to show them everything, and I'm going to serve them, and I'm going to go be the highlight of their day. Why don't you try and do that and stop going into it and just thinking nobody's going to buy, nobody's going to buy, because no one's going to buy. I was like, it's incredible how the universe tells you, okay, here you go. Exactly what you said is exactly what's going to happen all the freaking time, on a positive or negative. Some of you are like, it doesn't work on a positive. Oh, you've proved it over and over on a negative. You keep it right in that fucking cycle. You know, so like, why don't you just try it? You know, just try doing that, because the negative side is always more freaking powerful. But Sarah's like, okay. I'm like, look, and I looked at her and I said, if you're going to do this, and some of you here, like, we need to have this conversation right now with the push, and you can apply this to yourself. If you're going to do this push and you're going to wake up and you're going to be here, then freaking do it. Do the push, wake up, and put yourself in proper state. Because if not, you're ruining everything and you're just getting tired for nothing. Cool. And I told Sarah, I go, if you're going to work here, then work here. Not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Not let me test the water and see if I should jump in. Jump in and do it. Go, jump in and go all out. What is the worst that happens, Sarah Law? 2 weeks from now, you go, this wasn't for me. And you turn in your kit and I high five you and I go, thanks for trying. Thanks for checking it out. That's the worst that can happen. And by the way, you have a guaranteed base pay. Like, but that's the worst that can happen. And she was just like, okay. And I'm like, but what's the upside? So what's really the downside? If you don't give in, if you don't play full out, if you don't whatever, you know, like, what's the downside? You don't make money. You woke up early. You're tired, right? Like, let's just say you're just like, man, no one's going to buy this whole thing. No one buys. You woke up. You got tired. You didn't make any money. Whatever. You'll be okay. Go work and mow lawns and make some money and you're good. That's the down. But what's the upside? The upside is a lot. The upside is that you're like, holy shit, this actually did work. Holy crap, I did push passes. Holy crap, look at all the money I made. Oh my gosh, look at all the doors I opened. Oh my gosh, by doing this, by doing that, I realized that I could create this. And a lot of upside can happen. So being negative, the downside, you just ruin. Like, it's not like, if I give in and play full out, I could be losing this, that. You have nothing to lose. You're going to be in the same damn place you were with the same habits. But if you decide, like, I'm going to play full out and I'm going to make something great happen, you actually have a chance of something happening. Does that make sense? You know, it's like, so you're like, I don't know if I want to, I remember one of my guys in Miami who's like, yeah, I don't want to be the fool that, like, you know, played all out, worked hard, and then didn't get results. And I was like, seriously? I'm like, Julian, you're the fool not to play all out. You have nothing to lose by playing all out. Time, a week, 2, but actually you like learned some good stuff and you're around positive people. I was like, seriously, Julian? I'm like, you were the fool because you tried something. Guess what? The guy who made the freaking light bulb, he was a fool a lot of times. Hundreds. He was a fool for thinking he could put electricity from this little bulby thingy. And by the way, nothing proved that that could happen. And over and fail. Everyone's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Fail. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're so dumb. This is so dumb. This is never going to work. What are you doing? Nope. I'm going to keep going. 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 And guess what? Boom. Eventually it worked. And now we can walk in a room, flip a switch, and there's light on, and we expect it to be there because somebody thought freaking crazy and went against the odds and went against all the opposition and kept going at it, okay? And so the fact is, by working hard, by focusing, by believing that there's something greater, you have nothing to lose. I have friends of mine. I have a very strong faith. You know, there's certain things that I just don't understand, but there was a time that I made a decision to focus on what I did understand and what I did know, and at least live with hope. Is it better to live with hope or live like there's nothing, the world's coming to an end, all right? If I die and God doesn't exist, I didn't lose anything. I was happier, I was more fulfilled, and I lived a better life. And if there's literally nothing after we die, then there's nothing after we die. I don't believe that. But is it better living a life where you're like, there's something bigger, there's something greater, I want to be a better person, I want to give back, and working towards like a future of hope, or like everything is for nothing. This world sucks. Everything sucks. I'm here wasting my life. You know, like, is that a life you want to live? Like, so even if you don't have faith, and I remember talking to a friend of mine, she's like, how could you believe that? And I'm like, Katie, seriously? I go, it's a better option. I go, at the end of the day, I'm like, and I've been through a lot where I'm like, it's unquestionable to me. You know, like that the hand has been there all the time. Like, it's unquestionable. And I can share with you stuff. And I'm like, there's no way that I could say like, it's not, you know, that's not the case. All right. I'm not here to preach to you guys today. I don't care what you believe, but what I do know, it's the better option to live happy with hope than to live depressed and despaired. So why not go with the one that sounds better? I was the fool at the end. You're dead. It doesn't matter. How did you live your life? Did you live for something good? Like, if it's all over when it's over, then what did it matter? Like, you're not going to talk to anyone after it's over. So it doesn't matter. So it's like you're making a choice to go like, I'm just going to choose to be happier. I'm going to choose to do more. I'm going to choose that there's more out there. And I'm going to focus on those things and what I can do and what I can create. I made a choice to say, I'm going to live my life to love God, love others, and serve. All right. And that's what I want to do. And I made that many years ago, and it's so wild, you know? And I remember even the first time, and I'm like, I love, and I know some of you guys, I tell you guys over and over, and I tell you to come to church with me because I love Hope City. I love that church. And it was really wild for me personally, because when I went, if anyone had been Facebook friends with me for the past, like, I don't know, decade, I guess I got it in 2008. So 9 years I've been on Facebook this fall, 8.5 years ago. But from when I formed it, you know how it lets you put like your favorite quote, your whatever, like about you, and my life mission that I put on there years ago, it says, my life mission, love God, love and serve others, impact the world. And that's on a brick that I have in Haiti. And when I walked into church, it's very similar to the mission of Hope City, like love God, love people, change the world. And I was just like, they copied my life mission, you know, but it's a decision that I made of like, this is how I want to live. This is what I want to do, you know? So what if all the hype and getting yourself jumping around and putting yourself in a good state and all the stuff Mike talks about, how about if it's all just a hoax? It's all just hope, you know, like just like hype. You know what? Then it is. And you lived happier and you had more energy and you were more fulfilled. I'm okay with that. Just like people like, Kako, it's just a scam. You're going to see. I'm like, if it ends up being a scam, best scam out there, dude. I got college credits. I met the most unreal people. Made some of the best friendships I'll have in my life. I'll take that scam any damn day. They're still waiting 15 years later for that, like, I told you it was a scam. They're like, it's still working? Oh. You're gonna run out of people to see. Everyone's gonna own Cutco eventually. I'm like, really? Because everyone has kids and the world keeps multiplying. But people don't get it. All right. So back to the beginning, my brother made a decision through going to Tony Robbins, through going to say, you know what? Instead of living here and living this life where I'm just like, I want to commit suicide every day. I'm miserable from when I wake up till at night. I'm taking every type of pill. I'm doing all this stuff. My brother has the craziest form of ADHD. You talk to him for 5 minutes, you will understand. All right. I have I have like a 0.1% of what he has. I'm like, wait, what's the sound? What's the little birds chirping the other day? I was like going crazy, like doing things. But my brother's like talking to you and he's like, you know, like there's just something. He's all over the place. but he's learned how to channel it, you know, for good. And he's intense sometimes. Man. He's like, and you're like, oh my God. But he made that choice when he went to Tony Robbins to go, you know what? If I keep living like this, I'm just going to be fucking miserable or not around. Or I can make a decision that to take my life as a gift that I was given, to take my circumstances as lessons that I needed to know to be able to impact and change the world and change someone's world in the future. And what I do know, and I'll share some stuff with you guys next week, and we'll see how things are rolling. I don't have anything planned except to roll with the sharing time. But there's been some years, and no one in West Houston has heard some of this stuff because I haven't shared it here. We haven't gotten deep, and I was still getting to know people as we were moving here. And I wasn't here last week for most of the push. I was in California. And I wanted to be here because this is something that I really like diving into to sharing. But, you know, I've been through different things, and I've been through some things that I never want anyone to go through, you know, like I never want anyone to experience. And in those times, it was like, how am I ever going to use this certain circumstance? I can see how I can use this to help people. I can see how this will strengthen me, but like, why? Why does someone have to go through this? You know, like, no. Like, it just shouldn't have to happen. And as I met certain females in my life, and there's two specific ones, and one of them, I was talking about her yesterday, and I need to reach out to her because she messaged me on Instagram, and I'm seeing her starting all these, like, she has like a raw food, and I don't know what, like, I'll share with you guys her stuff because Jasmine's doing incredible things. But she, and I just laugh because a lot of this was from being in Alliance and me making people eat healthy. But she has her business that she started, and she's coaching and teaching, and she has a business called Earthy Creations, and she's created all these natural snacks and stuff, and she's been interviewed on different things and teaching people how to study, stress, relax, repeat. By the way, this is a girl, when I met her, was on every freaking type of antidepressant, who was miserable, who was like just so shook up, didn't, you know, like just had a lot of things from her past that she held on to. And she's like, but I've been through this, and like basically felt like she was never going to be able to amount to anything, never going to be able to be utilized, you know, for the good, because she was she was so damaged, you know. And what I do know is that, you know, God can take things that are broken and fallen apart and rearrange them and make them something great, you know, and it'll be something new, but it could be something better. And that's something to keep in mind. And I've seen that happen in my life. And I remember sharing with her, sharing with my girlfriend, Katie, who's my maid of honor, by the way, will be standing next to me at my wedding. And she could have been dead 10 years ago, you know, and because she was exposed here to this, it just changed her life. And forever, she was always like, you know, like, what you did for, and I'm like, I didn't do anything for you. You know, like, God put me in your life for a reason. And I'd been through things that she had been through that nobody else could relate. Nobody else could say like, oh, I get it. 'Cause she's like, no, you really don't. You really don't get what it is to go through this. And there's a small percent of people that could actually relate. And I'm one of them. And I was able to talk with her about stuff and share, like, I know what you're going through. Like, I really get it. And there was another thing that, you know, I went through that wasn't super exciting. And one of my girls that I mentored, we call her, you know, Christina Valadero. I remember she was like CV Junior growing up, and she was one of my mentees, and, you know, went through similar. And I remember her calling me some years after we had worked together, and something had happened. And she was like, I don't know what to do. And she calls me, and it was so wild because that morning God had brought something up that happened years past that I had suppressed. Like, I put so deep inside and never even thought about. And then it was like, it was brought up through something else before she ever called me that night. And then she called me like, this just happened today. And I was like, just frozen, like, what the heck? And it's like, if you're open to like know that everything that's happening to you like can be used for the greater good. And I really do believe that we're not given more than we can handle. In our current state, sometimes we might feel like we can't handle it, but the person that we're supposed to be, it can handle it. It can handle it. All right. It's not fun. It's not easy. One of my favorite quotes in the world, I don't know if it's on my Facebook, but I share it with people all the time. It's by Mother Teresa. It says, I know God, and it's a version of this. You can look up the quote, but it's a version of, I know God doesn't give us more than we can handle. I just wish he didn't trust me so much. And it's one of my favorite quotes, you know, because sometimes we're given stuff and we don't understand, but you know, like if you can, the best version of you can handle it. And if you say, okay, how would this person handle this? How would they deal with this? The person you admire, the person you look up to, you know, would they like lay in bed all day, sleep and ignore everything? Or they find a way to give back, take action, create something great, you know, teach people through that. And you watch some of the best motivational speakers, they have stories. They have intense stories, and they made a decision to do something great, and it's inspiring to so many people. So I'll wrap up because I'm going to continue on this path tomorrow. But weekends, and I talked about this yesterday, weekends are the best time to go out and sell. People got paid today. You have people in the best moods as you're going through, and I know results have been up, down, all around. Put yourself in a good state, you know, make yourself like write down stuff, listen to a video. Did you find JD's video? Okay, so I was like, share it in the group again. But there's different motivational videos. By the way, share them in the group. Like if you watch something that really fires you up, like share it. Like that's what we want to do. You want to keep each other focused on the right things. So there's so many motivational videos, right, on YouTube and stuff. So if there's one you come across, you really like it, share it. Share it in the group so we can all check it out, so we can all see it, okay? But as you go through today, you can create a same day from nothing. Yesterday, Culver booked 4 same-day demos. A lot of people yesterday on the phones booking immediates, booking same days. You know, make sure that you're focused. Don't be afraid to ask. What's the worst they can say? No, I can't do it. You wouldn't have had it anyway. All right. It's not a big deal. When you hear no, it's like, okay, you know, like that stinks. All right. What's next? And take action. And we're going to talk a lot about that too, with dealing with rejection. Some of you guys have a fear of asking because you have a fear of being rejected, you know, and the fact is, if they say no, if they reject you, it doesn't matter. It wasn't going to happen anyway. All right. And that's something I want you guys to get in the point. If someone doesn't pick up and you're someone that someone says no to you and you're someone that gets like really knocked down, I'm going to give you the Chris Dordo lesson. You hang up and you go, sucks for you, and call the next one. All right. Someone says no, they can't do it. Hang up the phone first and say, sucks for you. And point at the phone and say, sucks for you, and call the next one. All right. Don't do it while they're still on the phone. That's not nice. All right. But guys, it sucks for them. They're not going to get a chance to meet you. They're not going to get a chance to have time with you. You're probably going to be the freaking highlight of their day. All right. Especially if they're like, I'm sorry, they're probably like miserable and stressed all freaking day. You know, so you could have brought a smile to their face and a little quick break from their chaos. So sucks for them. All right. Next. I knew that out of a list of 10, I was going to book about 2. All right. Have the right expectations. Make more phone calls. It doesn't even matter. Get yeses, ask people to copy for you, hook them up with free stuff, like just have fun. I was talking to some guys yesterday like about recommendations, like I'm like, dude, just John Anton. I'm like, you're overthinking it. Like, just have fun. Just add. Be like, oh, hey, here's where you could really help me out, you know? And watch what happens. When you build good rapport, when you just have fun, when you don't care what the answer is going to be, because if they don't give it, the next one will, because we know it's a numbers game. You're going to have great appointments. You're going to have average ones. You're going to have some shitty appointments too. You're going to have amazing days this push. You're going to have average days. You're going to have some shitty days too. Like, that is part of the process. If it was all good, if every day was a grand day, everyone would do it. Everyone would have a great push. Everyone would be able like, it's like only the champions mentally, the ones that can mentally stay strong, are the ones that succeed, because they can get through the shit and keep taking action to get to the good. All right. You don't get to good without the shit. You just don't. Everyone has to under it. It's like almost like a test to see if you deserve to get the good stuff. All right. So don't forget that. Keep that in mind as we're going through today, and make sure you communicate. Cool. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into a lot of mentality stuff, but stay in touch with your team, school, team leaders, and captains. You guys split, get 1 or 2 people from your team. There's only like 4 or 5 other people besides your alliance crew. So each of you have 1 or 2 people that you're talking to or that you can mentor. Shoot them a text. All right. And by the way, if they don't respond to you during a day or 2, if they haven't responded, just say, hey, are you still working with Cutco? You know, we split into teams and you're on my team. And they can tell you yes or no, and let's figure that out. If they're not working, let's get their kid and we'll get you somebody else. Cool? Now, if they are working, let's get them connected. Let's get as many people here at 8 a.m. tomorrow as possible. All right? You get to sleep in an extra hour. All right? So wrap us up, Adam. I had one last thing. By the way, I love this story because you can't forget, if you stop certain things from happening, you're not going to have the strength that you need. All right? So, Adam, to wrap us up, let's go.
All right, so this is about struggle. And so, a man found a cocoon of a butterfly. One day, a small opening appeared. He sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as it struggled to force its body through that little hole. Then it seemed to stop making any progress. It appeared as if it had gotten as far as it could and could not go further. Then the man decided to help the butterfly, so took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining bit of the cocoon. The butterfly then emerged easily. It had a swollen body and small shriveled wings. The man continued to watch the butterfly because he expected that at any moment the wings would enlarge and expand to be able to support the body, which would contract in time. Neither happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of its life crawling around with a swollen body and shriveled wings. It was never able to fly. What the man in his kindness and haste did not understand was that the restricting cocoon and the struggle required for the butterfly to get through the tiny opening were nature's way of forcing fluid from the body of the butterfly into its wings so it could be ready for flight once it achieved its freedom from the cocoon. Sometimes struggles are exactly what we need in our life. If nature allowed us to go through our life without any obstacles, it would cripple us. We would not be as strong as what we have been, and we can never fly.
Cool. Don't forget that. Everything we're going through this push, yeah, thank you guys. Everything you're going through, whatever you're going through, you're supposed to go through it. Cool? Own that. Just make a decision right now to say, you know what, I'm going to accept that whatever I'm going through, I'm supposed to be going through. I'm supposed to be learning these lessons. I'm supposed to be strengthening in certain areas. Like, I need to go through this in order to be able to deal with whatever's going to be given to me later. Cool? Just make that decision. It's a decision you just need to make, because that becomes a new filter that you take everything in from. So when things happen, you're like, all right, there's a lesson here, you know? So let's go. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's figure it out, and we'll be able to look back later and see what those lessons were. All right? So let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. And get on the phone.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Bring it in here. Let's start dancing, you know? Let's go.
All right, day four. Let's go. It's weekend time, baby. This is where the good stuff happens.
By the way, congrats to Noah knocking out his first signature yesterday.
Yeah!
7 sold a complete set. There were some other like first times, so that's pretty awesome. Let's go.
All right. What time is it?
Game time!
What time is it?
Game time!
Who's in the house?
Warriors!
Who's in the house?
Warriors!
Warriors!
Ow!
All right, let's do this thing. All right. Let me put this off. Get on it. By the way, guys. Yo, I need a big favor. When you guys check out, you cannot leave this office without handing. Who's in this morning? Zyla. All right, as long as before 11. You cannot leave without handing Zyla a sheet that has your name. It can have your tracker on there. But what I need is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Make sure you guys have your update and you're like, I've got 5 out of 7 for today. I've got 4 out of 6 for tomorrow. Got 1 out of 2 for Sunday. And I've got 2 out of 7 for Monday. And then make sure you put the times of all your demos before you leave. Hand that over with your times and location of places, please, so we can make sure we have that in the system and we can set up field trainings and stuff. Cool? You guys don't all have to leave this room. This room can be used too. There's some food. So let's get on it. I would rock 20 calls and then grab breakfast, and then make more calls if you don't have a demo. 20 calls and then grab breakfast and go from there.